Coming up next on Access Framingham, Iran, with my special guest, Amy Dane. Stay tuned. I have questions about the visa and everything.
Well, that's with the argue nuts. That's part of it, yeah.
Hello, I'm Jack Barron, host of Travels with Jack on Access Framingham TV, where guests share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England. You'll see their photos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. My guest today is a frequent traveler and a frequent visitor to Travels with Jack, Amy Dane. Her first visit was on episode number 8 in 2011. Yes, we've been doing this show for a while. Amy's here today to tell us about her visit to Iran, or as I like to call it, Persia, in September of 2018. Very few American travelers visit Iran, but your preconceived notions aside and take an armchair trip with Amy. Most people erroneously think that Iranians are Arabs. They are, in fact, Indo-Aryans who built an incredible ancient Persian civilization. They enjoy great food, friendly people, mosques, shrines, and culture. Wind your way through colorful bazaars and watch craftsmen at work. What parts of the world have you visited? Please be my guest on Travels with Jack and share your travel experience with our viewing audience. Just contact us here at Access Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send us an email message to info@accessfram.tv. One of our associate producers will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you don't live in Massachusetts, we would be pleased to assist with your travel to the Access Framingham studio. Now, let me welcome our guest, Amy Dane, back to another episode of Travels with Jack.
Glad to be here,
Amy,
Jack.
great to see you. Let me just give a quick biography. Amy Dane, who is a frequent guest of this show, lives in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. She's married to Steve Dane, and they have 2 adult children. Amy is a world traveler. She really has been all around the world, and a professional lecturer. Being a professional photographer as well, she includes her photos as part of her professional lectures. She speaks to museums, senior centers, libraries, and Bill and I have asked her to speak at the Temple Bethlehem Breakfast Brotherhood meeting so that our Travels with Jack audience would have a chance to see one of her lectures here on Access Framingham TV. So hopefully we can hoodwink her into that. And she has a terrific website if you'd like to visit it, amydaneadventures.com. I don't know, do you have all 198 countries you've been to? You do.
Working on it.
Welcome back. So tell me a little bit about your travels to Iran.
It was really, really interesting. First of all, I think, Jack, we should take a look at where Iran is.
All right, we'll see if we can get a map up here.
And I'm so bad with geography. So you see what part of the world it's in. Okay, so if we go to the close-up, it's surrounded by 1 million countries.
So Afghanistan,
Pakistan on the east. Up north, you have Turkmenistan. You have the old Russian countries, some of them. Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey up there. To the left, you have Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. Down below, you see Qatar and Oman. I loved Oman. So it's big, and it has the Caspian Sea as well as the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf. Iran it's got 32, back up please. It's got 32 provinces. It
Really?
is three times the size of France. Okay, that's how big this place is, 3 times the size of France. Population of about 81 million, 15 million living in Tehran, the capital. So it's a big place.
And Iran, are you nuts? Are you trying to remind me they used to do pistachio nuts?
That they do when they sell very good ones.
They used to have the best.
I really didn't want to tell people I was going. I have millions of British friends who have been and they've loved it, but Americans have such a problem with Iran. And I didn't want people upsetting me before I went. Once I made the decision to go, and nobody would go with me, mind you, nobody would go with me.
Okay.
I decided, aside from the few crazy people I travel with, that I was not going to tell anyone at all, aside from my husband.
Okay.
So I went and...
did you take any extra insurance, by the way? I'm interested.
No more than I would have normally taken.
Okay.
No. Because, because insurance companies, it's wonderful to have travel insurance, especially for medical. But if you call them up and say, oh, I don't think I like what the newspaper said today, something like that is not going to be covered. So no. But it's quite a process. And I found a tour company, a Canadian tour company, and they've been doing it for years, a long time, and they're a good company. So I felt comfortable with that idea. And it's difficult. First, the company has to get a group visa. Can't do anything without that. Everything is time sensitive, okay? Once they get the group visa, you apply for your own visa. You have a window of 30 days from the date of the group visa until you can get it. Now, to back up, at first we were given tons of paperwork and told, here, fill out these forms and mail it to the Pakistani embassy, which has an Iran interest section.
Okay.
Okay, loads of paperwork. And then partway they said, no, bag the paperwork. They've decided to do an online application. Great, that's even easier, bag the paperwork. And then by the time it actually came time to do the information, they decided you could just basically put your name on a check and send it in. So it was just bizarre. It was bizarre. But my problem, of course, with the 30-day limit was that I was off in Greenland and Iceland, and I couldn't make it. So I had a problem, and I had to have the local company there reapply for me entirely.
Now, let me interrupt you. Does this Canadian firm send you single, or do they, in fact, make you go with other people in a group?
You must go in a group. Americans must go in a group. Not only that, they made us sign something right away, along with a deposit saying we understand that we are not allowed to stray from the group, period. Okay. That, for me, was fine because I was alone, and I didn't want to go wander off on my own in free time.
But they tell you have to remain with the group.
Yes, you do, and that was no problem at all.
Okay.
So, again, I'm coming in myself. Now, in Iran, women must wear a headscarf. What that means is that when you're on the plane about to land, the stewardesses, the flight attendants will say, we're going to be landing soon, and all the women go into their bags and look for their scarves and start dressing up.
How did you fly there? What was your schedule?
Good question. How did I fly?
I took Turkish Canada?
Air. No, I took Turkish Air from JFK through Istanbul.
Okay.
Very simple.
Yep.
It was
in
very
Istanbul to Tehran.
Correct.
So the group met you in Tehran? How did that work?
Yes. Now, I had to then go through customs on my own. I was coming off the plane alone. I knew there would be a car to meet me.
Okay.
But the idea that I wasn't with someone in that line who could, if I was pulled aside and questioned, that nobody would know aside from there's some guy waiting for me.
Could you have left from Canada with a different group, with this group?
No, it wasn't.
This is how
there was
it's
no
done.
group flight. No group flight.
Okay.
No. So that was my biggest anxiety, was having to enter the country alone. No problem at all. At all.
Okay.
And in fact, everyone is so friendly, and they love Americans.
They love
that was
Americans.
Another hang-up I had was I thought, wait a minute. I was leaving shortly before Trump was going to reinstall more sanctions.
Yep.
And this was a big issue, and I thought, oh God, they're going to hate us. It's going to be awful. What am I doing? And none of that mattered. None of it.
Do you get the feeling that the people on the street are not happy with the theological powers?
I'd like to show you some of those people that I talked to. First of all, I want you to see these women. They're beautiful, aren't they?
Yes.
They are beautiful. Women in Iran love to have plastic surgery, believe it or not. It's a big thing. They are beautiful. They want to be beautiful. And you can see they're in colorful headscarves.
Yeah.
They can wear tight leggings with a manteau, like a coatish jacket. They're very stylish, okay? Very friendly, okay? And in fact, if you go to the next slide, you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to stylish. She may be wearing a chador, but she's very busy looking for good nail polish while she's on her cell phone at the same time. But, you know, the money was something to talk about. The inflation was just awful. Once Trump announced the sanction issue,
It's gotten worse.
it's gotten worse. So on the computer at home, it said $1 was 40 rial.
Okay.
We got there. $1 was 140,000 rial. So I'm showing you pictures here of the back and the front of the note, side by side, from the cheapest debt. I can't see that far, frankly, but we have, I know 10,000 at the bottom. I think the top note is 1,000. Top note, 1,000 rial is 7 cents. So
Really?
A 10,000 would be 71 cents, and that means your $1 million rial, shall we say, is only $7.
This is like in Turkey. That
Yeah,
money
lots
used
and
to
lots
be
of money.
Lots
But
of zeros.
to make it more complicated, they have another currency called the toman. What's the toman? Well, you drop the last zero off the rial, okay? So the 10,000 you see on the bottom there would be 1,000 toman, as if it wasn't so difficult.
So they run two currencies.
Right. Don't
so
ask me
you can
why.
pay either in toman or
Right,
rial.
that's right.
All right, here's some guys you
And,
met.
you know, they were so friendly. We were just walking along in Hamadan to go to a shrine, and I see these three men, and I thought, I'm going to ask them if I can take their picture. So I went up to them, and they were very happy for me to do it. And then the man in the middle looked at me and said,
I know you?
What religion are you?
He asked you?
He asked me that. So I answered. I said, what religion are you?
Oh, that was your
So he
answer.
proudly told me, I am Muslim. And I said, that's wonderful. And then he thoughtfully looked at me and he said, do you have God? And I said, yes, I do. And that made him very happy. That's all he needed to hear. And this gentleman was the manager, the restaurant manager at the most gorgeous hotel in Shiraz. I could live in this hotel, the Grand Hotel Shiraz. So he asked me, no, go back, please. He asked me, what do you think about Trump? Now, all over the
Oh,
world.
so they all knew Trump.
Oh, all over the world, people say to you, what do you think about Trump? And I am so sick and tired of that question. So what did I say to him? How do you feel about your Ayatollah?
Oh.
Well, oh my God, OMG, you don't say that.
Oh, you don't?
Oh, he was floored. He couldn't believe it. He was horrified. He looked
Yeah, he
around to
probably
see
can't answer.
who might be listening. And once he was sure that nobody was listening, he opened up a little. He said that there are no opportunities for them. People are educated. His wife is part of an airline, so they travel quite a lot. And they're actually in the process of applying for visas to move to Canada. There is nothing for people there. And
You
that
mean
was
their
sad.
economy is stagnant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. People are educated with no jobs. This gentleman was a different sort. He sold postcards at a shrine and he liked to do guiding. His English was impeccable. I said, where did you go to school? He said, nowhere. I learned this from TV.
Really? Okay.
Perfect English. I said to him, what do you think of your government? And he said he thought it was great. They have a democracy. They have a prime minister and a parliament, okay? Yes, they do, but of course the Ayatollah has the last word anyway. He said the streets are clean and there's no crime, which sounds great, but there can't be crime because they execute criminals. But he's very happy.
He's happy.
He's happy. He's very happy. So there are two very different views, okay? And this lovely man who was proud to stand under an American flag for us. he was selling souvenirs.
I see, Persian statues.
And everyone
so
loves
do they refer
America.
to themselves as Persians?
Yes, they do.
They do. They
They
call
do.
themselves Persians.
Let's remember they are not Arabs, and they get upset if people call
Yeah,
them
no,
that.
no.
Like you mentioned, they are Indo-Europeans or Indo-Aryans. The word Iraq means land of the Aryans, and they come from an ethno-linguistic group of this Indo-European language family. And they brought that language to huge parts of Eurasia. And today, those languages, about over 400 of them, are mostly in Europe still, and over 300 of them are part of the Persian
dialect.
Here we went to visit a mosque, and what astounded me was that the men not only let us in, but you can see that I'm just behind them taking pictures while they're praying. I'm very close to them. They didn't mind this at all. Now, mind you, I don't think they'd let their own women anywhere near, but they were very friendly to us. Come on, welcome, see what we do. And it was really nice. And they were so friendly that you'll see in the next slide, this wonderful man asked us all to come back into his home so he could share a watermelon with us. And it was just such a kind,
Isn't that nice?
kind gesture. This is an example.
I've seen signs like that on
Oh,
the news.
of the propaganda on the roads. And if you notice, by the way, the flip side of the money I showed you all had the Ayatollah on it.
Okay.
Every bill, the Ayatollah is everywhere, in pictures, everything else. So the streets are covered with propaganda. And this is a land of great contrast. There are the people who are more friendly than ever, and there's the government and the propaganda. It is just, nothing adds up right. And so all of my fears really had nothing to do with being there because we felt nothing.
So these flags were in front of what? One of the buildings?
Our hotel, and this is the national
hotel.
flag.
This
yes.
Canadian firm booked the hotels for you?
Oh, the whole trip was
The
done.
whole trip.
I mean, you believe
It
me,
looks like they
soup
gave
to
you
nuts.
nice hotels.
Oh, gorgeous hotels. So the green stands for Muhammad's family. The white in the middle is peace, and the red is for martyrdom. They are big on martyrs, red for blood. And one of the things that they don't forget is the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 88, okay? When the things were crumbling in Iran, Saddam saw it as his opportunity to move right in. It was a very awful war with no conclusive ending to it. We were there for the beginning of the Ashura, the Shia festival of Ashura, which marks the anniversary of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, the Prophet's grandson.
Oh, okay.
And so you see the men, they're beating on their chests. It used to be they flagellated themselves with chains.
Right.
So this was really exciting for us to see this. And although Ashura is
The
only
weather in September comfortable?
gorgeous weather.
Oh, really?
Hot, gorgeous. In fact, if I were going to do this again, Jack, I think I'd go in the spring when the flowers are really in full bloom.
really? Okay.
Yes, I think it just happened this way. But the black flags for Ashura that you see here stay up for 40 days because the mourning continues, and you see posters like this of the faceless Imam. And so those will come down in 40 days. But the red flags that you see do not come down. And you see the poster here, again, it's the Iran-Iraq War. They fuel the people's anger. They're quick to respond should Iraq ever attack them again. They fuel the fire with this propaganda. So you will see martyrs all over the road. And, it's a term they use very loosely. When we think of a martyr, at least me, I think of a Christian martyr from the first century, a martyr. Anybody's a martyr. I think if an old lady got killed in crossing the street during a war, she'd be a martyr, and they'd stick up her picture.
So this martyrdom is very much part of their culture.
Yes, absolutely. And
I don't know if that's so helpful. All right.
Yeah, well, okay.
Next shot. There we go. Oh, I see a dancing girl.
Well, this was too funny. We're in a restaurant now, mind you.
Yep.
And the picture of the Ayatollah there was perpendicular on the wall to this funny little still life arrangement with this sexy woman. So we all laughed, saying that the Ayatollah has a nice view of this sexy woman. And we just had to laugh. It was part of the contrast of the trip.
It sounds to me like the people, the women certainly are not in sync with the Ayatollahs.
Yeah,
Here,
look
the
at this.
women of the stores.
Okay, so here are the bazaars, and I couldn't, in fact, I didn't ask the guy, well, when do they get a chance to actually wear these gowns? I don't know. Maybe at a family function, but if women are supposed to be all covered up, I don't really get it. Part of the contrast. Another part of the contrast, we visited this mosque in Far province, and they welcomed us in, they let us watch them pray, they let us have a picnic in their courtyard, and it was all very pleasant. And then these girls come in, it's so funny, they were having a camera class with their teacher, and so they took pictures of us, we had fun with them, we talked to them. And if you see the next slide, we have two in our group sitting down with their picnic, with the Ayatollah in the background, okay?
How many other Americans were with you in this group?
I'd say we were half American, half Canadian.
Oh,
now,
okay.
the norm
And
is...
about how many people total?
The group only had 16.
That's all right. That's a nice size.
Your average traveler in Iran, you get Italians,
Yeah.
a few Germans, and lots of French. Because you remember, under the two Shahs, the
Yeah.
Pahlavi Shahs, they were very into education, going abroad, sending people abroad to learn. And in fact, the Shah's wife studied in France, and they have a deep connection with France that still lasts.
They still do.
Yep. I'd like to go back to this land of contrast. So in the same mosque that we're so welcoming and friendly, we see a sign that says your hijab is mandatory.
Yeah.
Like, I think they know that by now. But you also have the martyr picture right in the
That's
mosque.
who that is. Another
Right
martyr.
in the mosque. And then we have a better one. There won't be any effects of Israel's Zionism regime in 25 years. So pronounces the Ayatollah. So this is
See,
all
that's
happening.
my issue with Iran.
Yeah, all happening in a place that's very welcoming, yet the undertones from the government are there.
And,
And
you know,
here's
for
a
some of
wonderful-
our viewers who aren't that familiar, when the Shah was in charge of Iran, they had very good relations with Israel and the United States.
Well, the Shah did a lot. Now,
Yeah.
the Shah provided education. He tried to help the farmers in, I think it was called the White Revolution. It didn't quite work that way. He did a lot, but the
but he
problem
wanted
was...
to bring modernity to the
Well,
country.
that was fine too, but the people had no jobs. He couldn't educate people like the man I showed you before, and then they come out educated with nothing. So there was unrest. People wanted justice. They wanted social reform.
So what did you notice? Did you note a problem in the economic system, the setup of it? What do you think is holding them back?
I can't
Okay,
say.
I see the
can't
United
say.
States
This
flag
was a
with the
wonderful,
devil.
wonderful propaganda. You see the British flag first.
Yep.
Then you've got the devil with the pitchfork with the American flag.
Yep.
Then you've got a Western woman holding the chador like she's going to burn it.
Yep.
Then what looks like a satellite dish under the Israeli flag.
Oh, because Israel
So-
must be spying.
So absolutely, and we're no good, and neither are the British, and so says the Ayatollah. I love
right.
this one, yeah.
There we go. This
And this
one.
is what you'll see on the street. And I have a continuation of 3. And do not be sarcastic to each other, and do not insult one another by unpleasant nicknames. Next, we're teaching here. Then recite of the Quran as much as is possible and easy for you. And know that your wealth and your children are but a trial, that Allah is with the best reward. This is what you get on the streets. And here, this is an example of us visiting the tomb of Daniel. And not often, but sometimes they'll have us wear chadors and cover up. And note, we always get ones that are very different from what normal people there are wearing.
I was going to say.
And that leads me to a point of surveillance. We were at the very end of the trip, in the biggest, most holy mosque in Qom. And we were wearing that sort of chador, running around, chador. And if we strayed too far from our group leader, security called him on the phone and said, gather your group, they're straying too far.
Really?
We were being watched and were easily to be spotted. So we never felt watched ever.
Did you get a feeling the government wanted tourism, or
They do.
they do?
They do. At least, certainly the people do, and the tour companies do.
Yeah, but
and,
I mean,
well,
with
the government's letting us in. I don't know. their particular say on it, but we felt very welcome. We were told that
let's see, you got a
the
little
food,
bit of beverage
oh
here.
my goodness. Well, remember, there's no alcohol at
Okay.
all.
But the
boy,
whole country doesn't serve alcohol?
dry.
Even the hotels for Westerners?
Dry.
Really?
Dry.
Oh.
If you need your evening drink,
Yeah.
you don't go here. There's nothing.
It's a dry country.
Absolutely.
No wine, nothing.
Nothing. 3 weeks of nothing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So your fruit juices, but boy, do they make great fruit juice. In fact, they make a virgin caipirinha that was my favorite. And we were just fed to death. And
it's a dry country.
Oh yeah. Well,
this looks good.
Look
Help
at the
me.
food. I mean, we ate meals like this both lunch and breakfast. They have the kebabs of all kinds, stuffed grape leaves. We always had salad, beautiful olive tapenades, yogurt. This is my favorite. We were at this restaurant, and I'm taking a picture here of a date cake that I couldn't get enough of, made with the usual.
Do you know you use dates to make the sticky toffee pudding?
Exactly.
Yes.
But these dates, aside from the usual flour, egg, and butter and stuff, had cardamom in them, and rose water, and caramel on top.
Oh, it
and
sounds
they
delicious.
have so many kinds of dates, but they have saffron. And they have rose water.
This is what?
This, I just wanted to show you. This is the Nature Bridge in Tehran.
Oh, okay.
Just how modern this city is. And there are actually restaurants within that bridge on one of the levels where we did eat one night and look over the whole city. It is a very modern city.
So they have some real problems. They have people who want to be modern and a government that doesn't.
Yeah, there's a problem here.
There's a problem. This is baking bread.
Oh,
okay.
and this turned out to be more fun than you could ever imagine. We were in Hamadan. We went into this. So we watched them. They make these big sheets of the dough. What you see here, that entire stone is a round stone that circles around, okay? So when it's ready, the guy takes a thing like to take a pizza out of the oven. They put it on this metal rack to dry. You see how big those breads are? And then in the next slide, you can see another thing they do is, he's throwing them on there. And in the next slide, he's even hanging them up on the wall.
Oh, really?
Okay?
Isn't that
and in the meantime, they're going like hotcakes. In the next slide, you'll see this gentleman just stacking them up. And I took a picture of this man outside the shop with his arms full of this bread. And it was so, so good. So good. So this is...
Oh, we got a video.
It's hysterical. Wow. This was in our hotel, and I absolutely was fascinated by how fast this man could work. It was so much fun. He enjoyed me videoing him here. Watch this. It's incredible. Look how quick.
Almost like a pizza.
And then I came around so I could watch him put it in the oven. And what it does, you'll see, is it sticks to the wall of the oven. It sticks to the wall, actually. You see how it sticks to the side?
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it cooks. So I just thought that was interesting and worth sharing.
And they don't fall into the bottom?
They don't fall in. They don't. That's how it's done. And that's our bread. So
Cyrus the Great.
We're going to look at a little history. Cyrus the Great was the first of the Achaemenid Empire. And he was tolerant. He talks in the Cyrus Scroll, this is a copy, it's in the British Museum, of the way he practiced. He was tolerant. He was the one who conquered Babylon. He sent the Jews home. Build your temple, go. He gave them money and said, you're welcome, you're free. He was tolerant.
Is he before Queen Esther or after?
Oh, heavens.
Okay, that's all right.
Well, this is the 5th century BC, so Esther would have been biblical ancient. More ancient than this, I think. And Cyrus himself loved to garden. My point here is the gardens. And we saw houses like this in Kashan. So for Cyrus, the garden was a symbol of power. He could take date trees, mulberries, olive trees from all parts of his empire and make them grow in a barren place. That was power. He loved it. And the garden is shown in literature, in art, and in the next slide, in carpets as well. This happens to be my souvenir from...
Oh, so you did buy a rug.
How can you not buy a rug?
Okay.
It's small, but I love it, and it's beautiful. So to continue, how do you grow trees in the desert? Water. And they have an ancient, what they call a qanat system, a canal system. It's Falaj in the Mideast. It's Qanat here. And this is a house that was a mansion and now the water museum.
Oh, okay.
So they began this Qanat system in the first millennium BC. It continues today. And of the 37,000 canals in Iran, 60% are still in use.
Now,
so
don't
this
they have a
museum was
serious
fast.
water problem right now? I keep hearing that they have a shortage of water.
We were not aware.
Okay.
We did not have an issue. But here are
Okay.
some things you see in the museum. The guy, making, using hoops to build the tunnel. We
Yep.
can roll through these pretty quickly here. Dredging water up, a picture of old times as well as the thing in the yard. This is the Qanat coming into the house so they can wash dishes here in the basement in this trough, and they can have a hammam, a bath, all because of this Qanat system that brought water into the home. It's pretty amazing. And here are some gorgeous water vessels, including in the middle you see the leather one to draw water up. And who carries the vessels, of course? The next one, you see a lovely older woman.
There she is.
There she is with a great big one. So, okay.
So, Darius,
So
the
after
famous Darius.
Cyrus comes
Yeah.
the famous Darius, who built the very famous Persepolis, which is the ruin of all ruin site in Iran. And he extended Cyrus's empire. He was very organized.
Did you go to
Was also,
Persepolis?
oh, you bet we did. He
Oh,
was
okay.
also tolerant like his predecessor. And if you go to the next one,
So you're saying ancient Persia had a tolerance for a lot of
a
things,
long time.
whereas these theocrats have no tolerance.
Correct.
I
So
got you.
here you see what Darius did to keep his empire together was built 4,000 kilometers of roads linking everything. And he had this brilliant idea of messengers on horseback. And he would have stations every so often so the messenger could relieve his tired horse, pick up a new one, and keep going. And I'd like to, that was really like a precursor to the Pony Express. And in the 5th century Athens, the golden age of Athens, I want to tell you what Herodotus said that might sound somewhat familiar to you. He wrote that no person or thing could travel as fast as these Persian messengers. These messengers are stayed neither by snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor darkness from accomplishing their appointed courses with all speed. Does that sound familiar
It
to you,
does.
Jack?
It does.
Our postal system.
I didn't know our postal system was connected to.
See that? Ancient Persia and
Ancient
beyond.
Persia.
And yes, and the golden age of Athens.
All
And
right,
look at
tell
this
me about
huge
Persepolis.
site.
I've heard the name.
Oh,
I know
gosh.
nothing about it.
Well, this was Darius's palace, and it was built on this very big platform. You can see acres and acres of it. And he
really?
built it as a ceremonial palace. It had nothing to do with warfare and defense. It was ceremonial. And if you keep going, I'll kind of talk about it. You get up that platform by taking these double stairways. And so it's very grand, and you can imagine the processions coming in. Now you can see the steps are very shallow, which would slow down the processions and make it very stately. So these men bearing gifts from all part of the empire would come up. And when they got up those stairs, they would face the Hall of Nations. In the next slide, this used to be covered. So you see on the right what it would have looked like. Okay, these fancy gilded bull power, of course, for the emperor. And this would be covered with cedar wood from Lebanon. And in fact, and here are some of the creatures you'll find at Persepolis. These bearded creatures with horned ears, double griffins on capitals on top of the columns. You'll see also, next. Okay, now we get to the welcoming hall of Darius the Great, the Apadana, where he met his audience. And you see on the right how amazing it looked with the cedar and the gold. And in fact, they found cuneiform tablets in ruins here that were the bills, all the bills to build Persepolis, showing the building materials, the
Really?
marble, yes. And so this was the welcoming hall. Extremely amazing.
Wow.
What you can't see in this picture are double bulls on top of these columns.
Now, what are we looking at? A photo?
This is yes. This
Okay.
is, you know how you have books
Yes.
now with overlays that show
Yes.
you what it would have looked like.
Right.
Yep. Next. So you will see these double bulls, and on the real ones are in the National Museum in Tehran, which is an amazing museum.
So you went to that museum?
Yes, we did. I could have been there all day.
Really? That
This
impressive.
came from Persepolis. This emperor was probably Xerxes, not necessarily Darius, but this is the kind of thing that you saw. Now, if you continue, I talked about the people bearing gifts to the emperor. So you can see up the stairway, we start to see people on the sides bearing gifts. And this is in the National Museum in Tehran, a part of that. The next one will show you that this is a common thing we saw, the lion biting the bull. And this symbolized, they thought, Nowruz, the beginning of the new year, where the bull would send out the new year by biting the bull, so they thought. But look at the workmanship. I mean, just amazing. So here you see people bringing their gifts, and believe it or not, they can tell by the dress of the people what part of the empire they came from. So in the next slide, you see Sogdians bringing in their rams. And the stunning decoration, look at that, the black eye, the curl of the horn, the fleece on those lambs, it is just stunning. Then we have, these people are Lydians who were rich with gold mining and whatever else. Their hats and their curls behind their ear show them as Lydians. And of course, the Bactrian camel. These are the Bactrians coming in with a camel for the emperor.
And this is all sketched in stone.
Oh, this is just beautiful. Low relief, incredible. Incredible. And here we have, I love the hat on the left. Now, I don't know that it's the same tribe, but I do know the one on the right is a Babylonian holding textiles.
So your guides were up to date on all this and said to you, we know these people are from this region or whatever.
But I have to say, I came home and read some more because you're so odd and you want to take pictures.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, you know, you want to hear the guide, but you're only allowed so much time. And so, of course, I have to take my pictures and I'm missing half of what they're saying. So I come home and I do my reading when I get home.
I find it interesting also that you said how much you felt they liked Americans.
Oh, the Iranians love Americans.
See, we don't hear that. I don't hear that.
Of course you don't.
No.
You don't know that when you go places, people say to you, oh, can we take your picture? They took pictures of our group. They asked if we could take pictures of them. They gave us hugs. They are so friendly and so welcoming.
I have to tell you something. I have found
you wouldn't hear that
in traveling to most countries, they like Americans.
But would you think after all these years of the sanctions?
I always hear that we're, you know, the ugly. I'm telling you the truth. Almost everywhere I go, I always get the feeling we like Americans. Thank you for coming. Tell more people to come.
And as worried they are is about their economy, and they are not in good shape at all. The average person is afraid, and they don't have money, and they can barely feed themselves, some of them, yet they still love us.
Well, I don't think we're at fault for where they're at.
No, I don't.
I mean,
suppose.
I don't.
No,
no. We didn't recommend Khomeini come to power there.
No.
All right.
Talk to you. I'm just showing you there's more and more. And when you're up at the palace,
this is a tremendous complex.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I love this woman taking a picture. She's down. Oh, and this is the 100-column hall of Xerxes. Can you imagine? Just more and more and more. Next. But what I always stress, when you go to any archaeological site anywhere, don't just look at the buildings. Look at what's strewn all over the ground. Here's these wonderful lions with their mouths open. The next one was one of my favorites. Oh, I love the columns, the capitals. They're called capitals. And the next one were it's a stele of sorts, a relief showing these elegant animals. Made-up animals and bulls with palmettes.
They certainly seem to me, from looking at this, that they were great builders as we talk about the Romans.
Absolutely.
They have a very...
Yes, and what did them in, of course, was Alexander the Great, who came in and burned the place. And luckily for us, though, the ash protected a lot of the ruins. But Alexander just, and Alexander, who called himself tolerant, was not tolerant of the Persians. They were arch enemies, and that was the end of Persepolis.
Oh, so
not to be discovered.
That's who destroyed Persepolis.
That's right, and it was excavated starting in the 1930s with the Germans. the Germans, and I believe there was also a team from the University of Chicago involved.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it had been covered for all
Yeah.
those years?
Yeah, I mean, they might have known it was there, but excavation didn't start
Really?
until
Okay.
the 30s. That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now
but
the
let's-
bazaars.
The fun stuff, okay?
Yep.
I mean, honestly, the shopping, there's no end to it. And of course, you need your money. There's no such thing as a credit
Oh,
card
they
here.
didn't take credit cards.
Well, we'll go back to my rug here.
Yeah.
When you go to a rug place, it's going to be a credit card.
They'll take a credit card.
Yes, I loved my rug guys. In fact, we went down there and it was hot. They were down a few steps, had a huge space, and we said, would you mind terribly if we just I was just with my roommate, if we took off our headscarves? It's so hot. The guy says, of course you can take off your headscarf. And he motioned to one of the helpers to go shut the door.
Oh,
Okay. Then he proceeded to give me the best coffee I had in Iran. The people don't care.
Yeah.
Our guide told us there are two types of people in Iran: those who believe and those who pretend. And we were in places that were off the beaten track,
I
like in the
that.
desert.
Those who believe and those who pretend.
We were at a little hotel in the desert, no other guests. And we went to put our headscarves on for dinner. You know, you don't leave your room without it. And the woman there said to one of our members, you can take your headscarves off here. This is ridiculous. I don't know what this government is thinking. And she went off on a tirade. And we found that people don't care. Now, of course, when I forgot, as I did several times, to put on my headscarf to go to breakfast in a hotel, usually it was somebody in my group that sent me right back running to my room, because it's not part of the way you dress. I mean, I lay my clothes out the night before, my headscarf's on top, and still I don't put it on. So I was the joke of the group. And then one day, the lovely hostess came over and very sweetly said to me that I forgot my headscarf. Oh, I'll get it right away.
Let me see if we've got some more photos we can. There we
So
go.
the bazaar. Okay, this place I showed you before. It's not just in the mall there, I should say. It's not just what you shop, it's where you shop. So you've got these caravanserais that are unbelievable. Those doors were locked. We were trying to get through them. And oh boy, you find someone who knows someone who can get a key. I never saw such big doors in my life. So when he opened those doors, this is what we found.
Oh, wow.
An old caravanserai, gorgeous, gorgeous tile. Nothing you couldn't, if I could have carried this stuff home. There were folded up rugs in the corner. Next, the ceramics, the pots, the rugs, and just
beautiful.
What a sight. So Isfahan,
I've heard of Isfahan.
Isfahan is incredibly wonderful. Now, what you see here
How many days was this trip?
3 weeks.
Oh, you were there 3 weeks?
Oh, yes, and drove 3,500 miles in those 3
this
weeks.
was a long
So I want you
trip.
to look here now. This is the great big square, now called Imam Square. Okay. To the left side in the middle, you have a palace. To the right side, you have a mosque. And where we're standing with the two minarets is this huge mosque, which you'll see in the next aerial slide. See that's how huge that mosque is.
Wow.
That's only one of them. So right again, to the left is a palace, to the right in the middle is a mosque opposite. But that whole big square you see, that arcaded thing, is a bazaar. If would take you a day and a half to walk it, let alone shop in it.
Look at the beautiful turquoise
Oh,
color
gosh.
of the dome.
You've never seen shrines like this. But so we shopped, and the craftsmanship is incredible. And next, this was a place that made textiles out of blockwood prints. And they teach us, and here's the man doing it. Oh, there are the block prints, some of the block prints in a paisley, okay? And the man is printing, okay? Then he looks up. Every block is a different color. Next. He looks at what he's done. There you see the red color. Next. And then we saw a man that made miniatures on bone. So he's showing us this big thing of bone as an example of what he uses. He's got this huge magnifying glass. And then he went, you see his colors over there.
Yep.
And he went to draw us a little teeny sample just to show us in 2 seconds. And this is what he produced, the little thing. And the miniatures are just beautiful. I have to say, most are meant for tourists. I, as an art historian, have an eye. And this is what I wanted to buy. I zeroed in on one in a shop that was truly a work of art.
And this is what, a woodcut?
This is a miniature. It's a painting on bone.
On bone.
This is, look how fine
Yes.
this is. Well, I was a little snitty because he wouldn't bargain as much as I wanted. Plus, he wasn't using the new inflated rate. He was using the old rate. And I didn't have that many dollars in my pocket since it was the end of the trip, so I did not buy this. And I'm sorry, but I'm not, because at my age, I'm not supposed to be buying things
Well,
anymore.
I know you are helping your dad release his biography.
Yes, I am.
And he's from Iraq originally,
That's
the
right,
neighbor to
from
Iran.
Baghdad.
So he may be able, I don't know if he shared with you all these crafts that he's probably a little bit familiar with that Iraq also had.
They did, but mind you, that's a different story, okay? That's another story as to my father's book called From Baghdad to Boston and Beyond, Memoir of an Iraqi Jew. So you will find in that book what the Jewish community was like in Baghdad, mostly
that's what
in
he
Baghdad.
talks about.
And oh yes, and
Which is gone today.
gone. But he was one of 9 kids, and they each came out
really?
at different times under very different circumstances. So we get the Mideastern part for sure. Crafts, I can't tell you that we do. But to go, okay, now
More crafts.
the enamel work.
Now this I think
Inlay.
I have from Morocco, very similar.
The inlay is intricate. This is more intricate than what you see in, and in fact, it was cheap. I bought tons of this stuff. Next.
And this is done with tile?
In wood.
In wood,
Wood.
okay.
Inlay on wood. And this is, it looks like china, but this is enamel painting on copper, so it's extremely light. And luckily for me, I decided that it didn't go with my kitchen decor, which is blue, but it saved me from buying something else.
Yeah, but it's beautiful
Oh, it
stuff.
is. Next. And then, this was the kicker. I was trying to find a rug, and I was in one store, and they were showing me rugs, and the next thing you knew, another man walked in, another shopkeeper, and he dumped this package of $100 bills on the counter, and I was floored. First of all, I've never seen wads of $100 bills in my life, and I thought, where do these come from? So that goes back to the store I did buy my rug.
Yeah.
Who had family or knew family, I think, in Louisiana of all places, that had a store in Louisiana. So a lot of these shops will route their credit cards either through Louisiana, through Dubai. They set up accounts in Dubai. So
see.
some of them will take a credit card not processed in Iran. Okay.
Interesting.
So I was told you're going to see your charge coming from Dubai in, I forgot
So
their
in
currency
other
right
words,
now.
Iran-
In Durham.
Iran may not process a U.S. credit card.
They can't. They won't.
They can't.
No.
But they say to you, don't worry about it. I call my cousin in Louisiana.
The expensive shops,
Yeah.
the shops where you obviously don't
So they
fork
get around
over
it.
many thousands of dollars in cash to buy a rug, and it's got to be shipped. Some of them do get around it. But, most of them just want a living. Here's some natural wonders. This is a 5-million-year-old cave. It was gorgeous. We went through it on a boat, and it was found by a farmer in 1963. Probably digging something, and what do you know? He finds this gorgeous cave. Here we have loads of shrines, and this was the tomb of Esther and Mordecai, right out of the Bible.
Oh, really?
So we want to go in this tomb, and what do you know? It's the Jewish holiday of Shavuos, the harvest festival, so we couldn't go in. Next to it was this temple, the Jewish synagogue, and so we went there. We met with the rabbi. Now, me who likes to buy things, you look at that inside. I wanted to buy one of those little rugs with a menorah, and the rabbi told me, this is the rabbi, very sweetly, that no, this is for the temple. But he was a retired natural scientist.
Oh.
Okay? And he had to kind of become rabbi because nobody else was left to take it.
Was there still a big synagogue in Tehran or anything? Or
Honestly, we
you
didn't
see
really
it?
see
Okay.
anything. This was in Hamadan, and I think they only had 20 people left there.
I'm sure. I don't think there are too many Jewish people left in Iran.
No. And this man, he was cute. He wanted pens. So, umpteen shrines. So on the left, you see the tomb of Daniel that we had dressed up at before. This is the tomb of Daniel, and inside. And, people don't mind that you come in, you watch them pray. There's no issue with that.
No issue.
No issue. And beautiful mansions, from the mid to later 1800s. Merchants, beautiful homes. And you see this, and it's just, the insides were just as stunning.
And this today
Look
is
at
what?
that inside.
This was a private home?
So, yeah, they're now like a museum. But
Museum.
yeah, this was a merchant's home. I mean, there was, wealth from trade.
But I'm wondering, so what happened to the merchant that he's no longer, his family didn't keep the house? The government took it or what? Or they didn't give you a history?
I don't know.
How
I
it left
don't
the
know.
merchant, so
I'm
to
sure
speak.
I would maybe have to look that up.
Okay.
I don't even know if you'd find much of that. But, you're mostly just in awe of what you're seeing. We had our time in the desert. Oh gosh, there are many deserts, but this one had salt flats. And this is actually a waterfall of salt.
I was going to say...
running water. It's running water.
It is, okay.
It was just beautiful, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it does.
And
Looks
then,
it.
we got there late, the sun's going down, and there's our Iranian guide. We were dancing in the dark, as Springsteen would say, dancing in the dark on the salt flats, having the best of times.
Did the guides feel free to... Go ahead, I'll let you talk.
This is wonderful. Now, this is...
I want to get as many pictures in
This
as
is
we can.
actually, and this is fantastic, this is called a musical gym. And it's ancient. So what you're seeing here is men working out. They swing chains, they swing clubs, and now we're going to show you a little video clip, and they do it to music. So watch this. They're working out. We're sitting around the Persian rugs having ice cream. Look at this. And what a fun way to work out, actually. I mean, that looks a lot more fun than my gym. Wouldn't you say?
Well,
So
let me
there were
see
no
what else
ads.
we can grab in before we have to end the show.
I end on a very lovely note. The shrines there are just so beautiful. The tiles, the colors. In fact, in that pink mosque, we actually saw a woman where they were doing pottery, and she took us to show her father's name. He had helped restore it, and he had his name in one of the tiles.
So this is all mosaic.
This is all tile work, not mosaic,
my
tile work of all colors. And there's a reason it's called the Pink Mosque. If you go there at a certain time of a day, indeed, it just lights up. So if you go to the next shot, you can just get a sense of the colors and the dome.
See, I want to see all this
Look
stuff.
at that. I mean, where are you going to see this? So, but
Unbelievable.
the next will give you the Pink Mosque and why it got its name. And this was absolutely like an epiphany. There were a bunch of tourists on the floor there just bathing in this colored light, and it made the nicest picture. And look at the vault work, too, on the building itself.
Beautiful.
But that in Shiraz was special anyway. A lot of these places each had their own character and were very special. So that I wanted to end with this slide because, I mean, what a beautiful way to end.
This was a beautiful trip, Amy.
It was a beautiful trip. I did not know what to expect. All I knew was that my British friends had a good time and they liked it. Travelers tend to want to go anywhere where someone liked it. But this was a place you had to think twice about.
The only advice I'm going to give our viewers, if you're a drinker, this is not the trip for you.
No. Not the trip for you.
Well, what about cannabis and stuff? Did you get a feeling that
Well, I think we were also told that, there is such a thing as people making bootleg God knows what in their basement here and there. And, when there are rules, people get around them somehow. Yes, they
But
do.
basically you're saying for dining and stuff you didn't have liquor.
No. Anything would be worse than our prohibition was. It would have to be.
I never knew that. I never knew
Oh,
it
I'm
was a
surprised
dry
that you
country.
didn't
I
know
did
that.
not.
In fact, it's getting harder in a lot of Muslim
Because a lot
countries
of
in
them-
general.
Yes, but a lot of the Muslim countries you go and they say you're a visitor, you can drink.
Last time I was in the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, you can have coffee. You can't have a drink. Okay? That's Turkey.
Well, Turkey has changed.
Well, I had trouble in Egypt. Yes, you can drink, but try finding it. Out of the hotels.
I'm saying out of the hotels
in
one thing.
Dubai,
but
only.
Usually in the hotels they had.
Yes, and in Dubai, in the hotels is the only place you get it.
Yes.
Not even in the airport. You could not, unless you went into the lounge and paid for the lounge, you would not see wine until you went to a hotel. So in a lot of these countries, you can't have a drink. So if that matters to you.
What's the next trip you're going to bring to our show?
Oh, heavens. How about Easter Island?
Easter Island. I'm up for that.
That was a fun one, I must say.
This was extremely impressive.
I'm still wowed by it. I really am. I'm still wowed.
Unusual. I'm jealous. I want to go.
I'm so glad I did.
Yeah,
And
no, this was.
I have to say, there are places in the world that are getting dicey, and I want to go, and I'll hear good things, and
It's
getting
true.
ready is very, very anxiety provoking.
I'll be very quick. I've said to people, I went to that country years ago. I don't know if I'd go there today.
Right. I had a
And-
friend that just went to Pakistan and loved it.
Loved
He went
it.
through the Hindu Kush. He said, yes, they had security in the Swat Valley, but it was fine. So,
But
frankly,
you do have to be careful.
I'd like to go.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I can see you going.
But it's, do you think my husband's thrilled? Not so thrilled. He kind of knew he had to cave on Iran. I wasn't letting it go. But, he's not so happy to
Very impressive.
see me go.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you
I
for
look
having
forward
me,
to the
Jack.
book
Great.
on your dad.
Sounds good.
From Baghdad to Boston.
That's
I
right.
like that.
Okay.
Thank you again.